Welcome to Saleh Family Speaks.
Hey, I'm Sana.
And I'm Mohammed William.
And we are
the Saleh family.
We are social media influencers, content creators, and we own multiple online businesses. We seem to have a lot to say when it comes to just about anything. We are a mixed culture Muslim couple from Canada, and we're always asked about how our lives intertwine with the world around us.
This podcast is all about learning to live, love, and laugh in a way that may have you rolling on the floor or throwing your phone at the wall. No topic is off the table. Religion, culture, love life, and everything in between. So get ready and grab a big old cup of chai. Welcome back, everybody, to Saleh Family Speaks. On today's episode, we are going to be speaking about something that we are quite familiar with.
Women on social media, particularly Muslim women. That's who we're going to be focusing on. It's been a hot topic on TikTok lately. Kind of weird. It's been showing up on my For You page. There's this big debate amongst Muslim influencers if Muslim women should be on social media.
Interesting. So there's definitely a lot to unpack on this one. A lot of kind of subtle nuances that people like to throw around. So I think that we should kind of jump in at just the basic point, and that is, in general, are Muslim women, forget about social media, because social media in and of itself is just another way to say that Muslim women are out
integrated into society. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. So is that allowed?
Of course it is. Muslim women are allowed to work. Muslim women are allowed to go to school. Muslim women are allowed to be part of society.
Mm-hmm. So you get this, unfortunately, again, first to preface the whole thing, we're not scholars, we're not going to issue fatwa, but again, as
Correct.
we speak about all the time, you as a Muslim or anyone who's listening to just get education on the matter, we have a responsibility to ponder and think about verses of the Quran and think about what Allah is telling us. So you'll definitely have people who will hold a contrary opinion that women cannot work outside the home. They must stay in the house. They must cover fully if they go outside. And if a person wants to take that interpretation, by all means, you do your thing. But the overwhelming majority of Muslim jurists are of the opinion that, yes, a Muslim woman can be out and about in the marketplace, going shopping, having a job if she needs to. We as Muslim men have a responsibility to provide for our women and children.
Yep.
Right? So if we are slacking, or you live in a society, for example, you live in the West, it's almost impossible to have a single income family and make ends meet.
Exactly.
Right? So,
in today's day and age especially.
Yeah, absolutely. So the people who hold a view like that, it's unfortunate because they twist verses of the Quran. It's no different than people saying Muslims are terrorists because, in the Quran it says kill them wherever you find them, right? So
which we've done an in-depth podcast about terrorism in Islam, so you can go back and listen to that.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
So a lot of the times when people speak about verses of the Quran, they totally leave out the verse before it, which explains who this is directed at. And in regards to, in the Quran, chapter 33, verse 33, in regards to women, specifically right before that, it's speaking to the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the mothers of the believers, to stay inside, do not go out into society.
AKA the wives of the Prophet.
The wives of the Prophet, may Allah be pleased with all of them. So it's very interesting how we kind of tend to leave things out, for our own benefit, right? And it's really quite tragic because it's literally what the Islamophobes do. We kind of end up doing the same thing.
And so the interesting thing is the videos that I've seen on TikTok that are circulating right now, and there's this big debate happening, is they're saying that women shouldn't show their face, which there is a difference of opinion about that.
Okay, let me just jump on that, just briefly so that people can understand.
Yeah.
It is a difference of opinion. It is an incredibly small difference of opinion. You have Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed, Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah, all of these scholars, none of them were of the opinion that the face has to be covered as like a rule. So just to preface that, it's not just like a 50-50 kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, they're saying that a Muslim woman's voice shouldn't be heard.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like, oh, she shouldn't be on social media because her voice shouldn't even be heard by other people. And I'm like, where did that come from? Because like, are we just going to ignore the fact that some of the biggest scholars in history and teachers in history were women?
Yeah, exactly.
And literally the wife of the prophet.
Exactly.
And she taught thousands of men
Absolutely. And
with her voice.
And the men, and exactly, because
so since when?
Because she would be, Aisha radiallahu anha, she would sit behind a hijab, which is a partition where she would be, because of the verse of the Quran, again 33,
directed at her,
where it says, and stay in your homes and do not go about displaying your allurements as in the former time of ignorance, right? So
again, it was a safety thing though.
There's probably many reasons. One of them certainly is that the people who wanted to kill the Prophet, what better way to do that or harm him than is to harm the most beloved people to him, right? So to make that insinuate a woman's voice, right? And we're not going to sit here, we're not going to talk about hadith, because hadith are a source of misguidance for Muslims, except for the fuqaha.
Except for the scholars that are learned.
Exactly.
And
this is not,
that know the background details.
This is not a statement of Will Saleh. This is a statement of one of the giant scholars of the Salaf, Sufyan ibn U'ayna, a teacher of Imam Shafi'i, teacher of Imam Ahmad, someone who himself was hadith-centric, but still told the people and left that statement. And it's a beautiful statement. I think we should all follow it, because once you start opening up books of hadith and start throwing out what you think they mean, it's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, and scholars are the ones that have spent their entire life learning about the science of hadith that we don't understand. We don't understand about the chains of narrations. We don't understand where certain things come from, why certain things are said, why certain things are in books where they shouldn't be, et cetera, et cetera. So let's
exactly.
Just
it's like why are you giving medical advice because you searched what a fever is on Google,
right?
You know what I mean? Like you negate the doctors to put your own opinion above theirs.
Exactly.
So that's not what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to speak about certain things, right? So just like Sana said, that some of the most eminent scholars were women, and they taught men, right, with their voice.
Yes.
So most definitely, it's a very ignorant statement to make such an accusation.
Now, one thing that I want to say and preface is we're not referring to the Muslim women that are on social media and they're doing daily vlogs and cooking videos and day in the life with my kids and educating about Islam or modest fashion. No, I'm talking about like the ones that obviously shouldn't be displayed on social media are the ones that are twerking and doing dancing
like
and you know what I mean, like the things that are not what a Muslim woman should do. I'm talking about the ones that have good intentions on being on social media,
absolutely,
and have every right to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
AKA like us.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't use us because
you're not a woman, but
well, yeah, exactly. So 50% of us. But that's the most basic thing to understand in all of it, is that as a Muslim, you're rewarded according to your intention. What is your intention, right? If you're only being out there to get attention to you, this is not allowed, right? But if you're there for a reason, educating, doing something that is beneficial for society and people, even if that's something as simple as trying to humanize Muslims to the world and show, we might dress a little bit differently, we might do things a little bit differently, but we're all the same, right? You're bringing a benefit to Muslims on a larger scale, right? But again, it's all about intention.
And one thing that I wanted to point out is like the extremism stuff.
Yeah.
Because you had mentioned like there are some verses that are taken out of context regarding Muslim women in Islam. For instance, the Taliban will take those verses and they'll say that women cannot go outside in public, they cannot go to school anymore, they cannot work. Yeah. I was watching this documentary by Vice News, and they were interviewing a member of the Taliban, and the woman had asked him, do you think that a woman could be a judge or can work or whatever? And his response was straight up, no, I believe that women have a smaller brain than men do. And they're not on the haqq, they're not on the faith. And I'm like, what? Where does that even come from? Like,
so the interesting part about that is that when people, I like to call them, I'm gonna say what I like to call them, we'll leave that out. But when people are on social media and they say things like, they use the word tabarruj. Right?
Oh, that
Right.
word has been thrown around so much on
So
TikTok
we'll get
lately.
to that.
I didn't even know the definition of it. What does it even mean?
Okay, well, so here's the problem, is that Muslims on social media, or people who throw this term around,
Yeah.
they have no idea what it means. They heard somebody say it, or they read some fatwa or whatever,
And then they leave comments with using
and
that word.
okay, so people have said, oh, makeup is tabarruj, right?
Yes,
Oh,
that's what they say.
a particular hijab or a clothing is tabarruj, right? Linguistically, that's not what it means. So you have certain words that are, like in English, you have a person, place, a thing, which is called a,
Noun,
right? And an action word is called a,
verb.
right, a verb. So tabarruj is similar to a verb. It's an action. It's not a thing, right? To say makeup is tabarruj. No, because when you look at the actual, if you go back to what is the meaning of it, it's in reference to big buildings that are built and they're put up on display, right? So when you understand what this means, it's referring to, firstly, a very, as Allah says in the Quran, right, in that same verse in chapter 33, verse 33, about these type of women from the time of Jahiliyyah. So it's specifically talking about a certain type of people. It's not just, oh, makeup is tabarruj, right? They don't understand the context of the word. They don't understand the meaning of the word.
They're throwing it around like it almost means like haram.
Anything what you want it to mean.
Yeah.
That's not how language works.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, just because you think it means something, that doesn't necessitate that that's what it means.
I've even heard Muslim women use that word.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like I wear makeup and I know it's the tabarruj, but I'm trying my best. And I'm like, wait, what?
So when you say
what
that,
are you saying
okay,
about
so-
yourself?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't even know what it means,
I
but you're
know.
going to say it because it sounds
Because
smart.
it's trendy. I don't
It's
know.
trendy, right?
Hashtag
The
trend.
closest, if you actually look at the verses of the Quran that talk about it, if you look at what the Prophet ﷺ has said about it, and you look at what the scholars have referred to about it, it's referring to what I would, okay, this is not to disrespect anybody, but if you look at, for example, if you go to, these places where you have like a lot of prostitutes, right? And what are they doing? Are they dressed up a certain way? Obviously. They're there to show and expose themselves, right? Do they walk a certain way? Absolutely. Do they talk a certain way? Absolutely. Do they action themselves in a certain way? Absolutely they do, right? So this is the action of tabarruj, where they're out in society, they're trying to get the attention of men, and through their actions, through their clothing, through their makeup, through all of it, this is tabarruj, right?
Yeah, but the people say that makeup is
Correct. And if you ask people like Sheikh Madhar Mahmoud about this word, he said it's such a travesty that people would take a word they don't understand, they don't know, and just apply it to anything, right? It's like so many things. We as Muslims suffer so much because other people that aren't Muslim take words out of Islam and then they try to tell you what it means. But we say, well, wait a second. That's not what it means. Like jihad. It means killing all the non-Muslims. I mean, that's such a stupid thing to say because you don't understand what you're saying. You look very dumb to anybody who knows what it actually means, right? And it's the same thing with this particular word, is that makeup isn't, but what is your action behind it? Are you totally doing your makeup like crazy because you want the attention from men?
Yeah. Or are you just wearing it just because you want your
Well,
skin to
again,
look even? and
that's
it
a whole
makes you feel better?
that's a whole other conversation.
I think it just honestly like comes down to your intention. If you're going to be dressing a certain way or doing a certain thing to impress men, then yeah, it becomes something that's not permissible.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's
Whereas,
the action that these people are referring to, but they're using it in a completely incorrect
they're kind of blanketing
context.
everyone. Whereas there's people that will wear makeup and go about their day and do a vlog and do this and and that's not their intention. They're not
the interesting,
wearing it
what
to
I
attract
find
men.
interesting is that for any layman, and I will call them laymen because you will never hear scholars slandering people saying, oh, tabarruj, makeup, tabarruj, whatever. So for you lay people out there, like myself, if you use this word and you say makeup is tabarruj, then you are unknowingly insinuating that the greatest mufassir of the Quran, Ibn Abbas radiyallahu an, that he said it's permissible for you to do tabarruj.
Because he said makeup is okay.
Well, he didn't say makeup specifically, but he said kohl, right? And the verses of the Quran, what normally appears thereof of a woman is what is allowed to be I'd say on display, but allowed to be shown in public. And one of the things that he said is kohl. And many of the Sahaba,
straight up eyeliner.
which is the what? It's the most seductive form of makeup that a woman can wear.
Totally.
From a man's perspective.
Totally.
The dark eyes, that's what's attractive, right? So.
And he said that's okay.
But then you were insinuating that he's approving this thing that's so sinful. Because you don't understand the greater context, because you don't understand what you're saying, you're throwing the Sahaba under the bus, right? So again, makeup is something that's disputed amongst scholars. Nobody will disagree and say that kohl is haram for women to wear. And in the presence of non-mahrams, because that's what was referred to, what can be shown outside your home, right? So the ignorance of people.
It's probably not referring to foundation, which is literally your skin tone. I don't understand why people like kohl versus foundation. Like, which one do you think is, AKA, if you want to quote, more modest?
Exactly.
Well,
it's all about the intention.
Yeah.
What are you doing it for? It's like anything, right? If you're, I mean, you could be like, what are you working out for? Because I want to look good for all the girls at the beach. Do you think you should be doing that? No, you should be doing it because you want to get healthy, you want to be in shape, you want to live longer. Allah prefers a strong believer over a weak believer, so on and so forth, right? But yeah, I mean, even the issue of makeup that I mentioned before is something that is disputed. Some people say not allowed any type of whatever. Kohl, yes, of course, it's halal, right? But again, the scholars who more err on the side of reason and understanding is that Allah created us beautiful, in the most beautiful manner. And if a person themselves is insecure, and it takes a little bit of foundation or whatever to make them feel better, more like what Allah, the beauty that Allah has created, then they say there's nothing wrong with that. It's once you cross that line from what is kind of normal makeup to you being somebody who's doing it to attract.
Again, like, this is not in reference to just women. Like, this applies to men as well.
Absolutely.
Just like you mentioned, like a man going to the gym to get ripped. Like, what is he doing that for? Yeah. Is he doing that for himself, or is he doing it to show off? Exactly. There's a difference.
This: if a guy is jacked, what kind of clothing does he wear?
Always muscle shirts.
Tight clothes, show yourself off.
Gotta show everybody.
Exactly.
Macho man.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's an intention factor behind it. And that's the thing is, like, with regards to this entire topic, it all boils down to your intention.
Exactly. And even the scholars that permit makeup, they say that's the deciding factor of when it is no longer permissible.
Yeah.
But they say, you know what else they say? It's up to the woman to decide what is too much. Not you as a man to look at them and be like, oh, no, that's two shades too light, or you know what I mean?
Like, I know for myself what's too much.
Yeah.
Like, I personally don't like a red lip, or I personally don't like super dark lipstick, or you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's too much for me.
But even if you were to do that, what is your intention?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, people. It's the jahiliyyah of the time, is that we disregard the scholars, we open up books of hadith, we start reading English translations of Bukhari because we don't understand Arabic, and even if we do understand colloquial modern Arabic, we don't understand classical Arabic, we don't understand Quranic Arabic. So we just say, oh, I know, I'm an Arab, I know. No, you don't. You've never studied classical fiqh. If you don't have fiqh, which is understanding, in the words of Hamza Yusuf, shut up. He doesn't say things like that very often, but if you don't have fiqh, shut up.
Yeah.
That's his quote, not mine. Yeah. And I agree with him 100%. You have nothing to back what you're saying. It's just you being
and
the scholar.
Thing is the scary thing about seeing videos like that all over TikTok about this debate that's happening amongst, and it's not even scholars. It's just it's amongst common people that are like, oh, this sister should not be making content online and blah blah blah. And I'm like, like, who are you? The crazy thing is non-Muslims will look at that and they'll be like, whoa, I don't think I could be a Muslim, especially women.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
crazy thing is the biggest amount of converts are women
Our Western,
to
our
Western women, to Islam. But if they saw those videos on TikTok, I bet you they wouldn't think
Yeah,
the
and
same.
if you presented what the scholars of reason speak about, is that yes,
would-
it's permissible, but don't do it so that you are attracting men
Yeah.
willingly, knowingly. And most women would be like, well, yeah, that
makes
makes
sense.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
duh.
Duh.
You know what I mean? Like, because women in general, they know the women that do too much.
Yeah.
They go too far. They try too hard, right? So again, men, this is not something that a man is responsible to do. Yes, if you're married and your wife is like one of those people, yeah, you as a husband should definitely give nasiha. And at the end of the day, she can take it or not, right? But the funniest part that I find is that the people who make these comments about tabarruj and makeup and this, if that's what Islam is,
To
right?
them.
Well, no, but in general, if that's what Islam is, right, is this notion of women stay in the house, they're not allowed to go out, makeup is forbidden, this tabarruj is literally
Can't
applies
listen to her voice, can't do
tabarruj
this.
literally applies to everything that a woman could ever do,
Yeah.
right? Then you and your ideology is the ideology of the Taliban and ISIS.
100%.
I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it. It's just it is
It's
what
true.
it is. It's a
It
fact.
is what it is. That's
They
literally
hold
what they
that
believe.
understanding. The rest of the Muslim world doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Even like Saudi Arabia, which is seen as a very kind of extreme kind of place, they don't necessarily hold that type of ideology. It's definitely more rigid than it would be in somewhere like Malaysia or in Turkey or in Egypt, right? But still, they don't go to that extreme. Some people, maybe, but you're going to find those people anywhere you go. But just in a general sense, you don't represent the Muslim world.
No.
You don't represent the scholars of Islam. You don't represent Muslims in general, right? But what you do represent and what you are pushing is extremism of people who don't even, again, you have the fatwa of over 300 scholars when ISIS was in its heyday.
Talking
And it was a
against them.
fatwa completely saying these people have nothing to do with Islam.
Of course.
Right? You have the Taliban, right? And again, people's intentions may differ, whatever. But when the Taliban just took over last year, right? One of my friends, a scholar, sent a video, and he was commenting and saying, this is their big imam, their big mufti of Afghanistan, and he can't even recite the Quran properly.
No, none of them can. They're so uneducated. When I was watching that documentary by Vice News, like the
mentality is so
mentality,
cultural.
very, very like rigid and just like bizarre. Like there was a woman talking about abuse happening to this one woman, and the guy was like, I've never heard of abuse in this city. And she's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There's women in the hospital with broken bones all the time, and you're denying that? He's like, well, if there is one, you should bring me a case. And it's like, where do you live? Like,
Yeah.
are your eyes blindfolded?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's bizarre. So
I think at the end of the day, if there's anything to take away from this entire conversation,
yeah,
is educate yourself.
totally.
Don't just Google, is makeup haram? And then read something and that's it. Understand the bigger picture.
Speak to a scholar.
If Ibn Abbas has stated that kuhl is permissible in the marketplace, you could say, right? Out and about. Because again, that's what the verse of the Quran is referring to. It's not going to tell you what clothing or what normally appears thereof when you're at home with your husband, because you don't have to wear anything if you don't want to. You know what I mean? It's referring to
Yeah.
when you're out in a professional setting,
sense.
right? So if you say makeup is tabarruj, well, kuhl is makeup. There's no it's the earliest form of makeup, that we have in this kind of way of life, or this under Islam essentially. So when you say that you make these statements, you're throwing the Sahaba under the bus. The
Totally.
greatest people that ever walked the face of the earth next to the prophets, alayhi salatu wasalam.
and their understanding of what Islam was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the problem is, take a step back. Just, don't think I know anything. It's simple. We had this discussion today. Was another topic we were speaking about. And it's like, if there's a difference of opinion, you need to be educated enough that you can stand and you can discuss that difference of opinion. Because it's not okay for you to say, well, this is haram, but there's a difference of opinion. if all you know is there's a difference of opinion, you're not qualified to even talk about this thing.
No.
Right? That's why people always say, oh, you say music is halal. No, it's a difference of opinion, which means there is nothing conclusive in the Quran or the Sunnah to forbid this or allow it, so the scholars have differed. If there's a difference of opinion about anything, it means there is no evidence to support it, and that's why they differ. What is definite is definite. What is differed upon is differed upon. So if you're going to say something's permissible or not permissible, you need to know why it is or why it isn't.
And that's why when you come down, when this boils down to this particular topic in summarizing, is you're not going to find a verse that says women pray in a closet and stay there, or women don't ever speak out loud, or women don't walk into the marketplace. Like you won't find anything that says that, because that's not the case. That's just not the case. Islam is far from it.
Yeah.
Islam gives women so many rights. So when I see videos like that and I see people putting up content like that, it's just really disheartening, because I feel like it kind of puts us a few steps back.
Absolutely.
And it makes Islam look really barbaric when it's not.
Absolutely. And the way I look at it is, for one, I think that if it's men who are making these comments, you're completely insecure with your faith. You're completely insecure with your understanding, because you feel the need to control people who they don't belong to you, right? Every one of us belongs to Allah. And you have no right to impose your understanding, because the next guy's understanding differs from yours. And this giant, fuqaha, their view differs with yours. But when people, again, with your intention, if your intention is pure, forget about it. The Hadith Qudsi, for people who don't know, Hadith Qudsi is a narration from the Prophet, peace be upon him, but it is direct revelation from Allah. So it is Allah speaking, essentially. And it's a Hadith in Bukhari where Allah says, I am in my dealing with my servants as they think of me, and I am with them when they invoke me, right? Which means that Allah is going to deal with you according to what you think Allah is going to do with you. If you believe in your heart Allah is the most merciful, Allah will forgive my mistakes, Allah is Ghafur Rahim, Allah is hopefully, inshallah, forgive my shortcomings. My intention is pure. That's the thing, right? It's like you can't sin with a bad intention. Oh, I'm drinking alcohol, but my intention is pure. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work
If you're
like
on
that.
social media and you're doing something that is good, productive, whatever, don't flaunt yourself to men that you're trying to, that's tabarruj. That's bringing in unwanted, or again wanted in that particular case, right? But I mean, there's so many people, Muslim women, who are guiding millions of young girls
Definitely.
to wear a hijab.
There's so many role models, and there's so many positive Muslim women that are on social media that are making a difference. Like for me, I was influenced by Muslim women on social media to wear hijab. I wear it to this day because I looked at other women on social media, because there was no one in my community. There was not a single person. And so if I look back at that, I'm like, if there wasn't any woman on social media back then, this is 10 years ago, by the way, like, would I be wearing hijab today? Maybe not.
And that's hijab, that's how to be a mother. I mean, there's so many things that people are bringing value to on a global scale.
Definitely. So much positivity.
And people are insecure about that. That's
Men,
the problem.
AKA
Well, women
men.
too.
Some women, but mostly men.
No, 100%.
Muslim men.
100%.
That feel the need to just be so vocal about it,
Yeah.
and like it makes them so uncomfortable. Like, buddy, look the other way. If it bothers you, why are you on social media?
Absolutely. I mean, again, what is your intention on being on social media? To troll women? Like that's what your MO?
Lower your gaze.
Get
Simple.
off social media.
Yeah, get off social media.
If you're trying to liberate the world and do so much good by doing and saying these things, you're making the rest of us look bad because of your own ignorance, right? So when some of our closest friends are scholars of Islam, great scholars of Islam, unbiased scholars of Islam that they're not connected to a cult, they're not dogmatic, they take their understanding from the first generation of fuqaha, and they love and appreciate what we do as a couple, right? Then that should at least show that you as Sheikh so-and-so sitting in your mom's basement, that you just quickly Googled a fatwa from Islam QA to be able to say, oh look, the so-and-so said.
Haram. Oh, blah blah blah.
You're ignorant, and what you're doing is far more damaging than it is anything else.
Yeah, exactly. You're not bringing people closer to Islam. What you're doing is pushing them away.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
definitely such a good topic. I'm glad that we discussed this because it definitely needed to be said. And I'm glad to see all you sisters out there that are hustling, trying to make social media a better place for Muslim women and for the youth.
Absolutely.
We need to see that.
For sure.
So.
And again, as an advice, a nasiha for the people who aren't, the people that have the wrong intention, the people who are doing these things, whether that's, dancing and twerking or sexualizing yourself on social media, you need to take a step back. We're all going to die one day, and your content is going to be up for all, for everyone to see, unless you have some way to delete it when you're dead. So we should always be conscious that while we're here in this world, we're making an effort to make the next one better.
Definitely.
And if we're not doing that, then our intention is blown anyway. So may Allah, strengthen our intention, make it and keep it pure, and that what we're doing for His sake and His sake alone, irregardless of what the haters may think. So yeah, at the end of the day, all you can do is, speak what you believe to be the truth. And again, like Allah says in the Quran, speak the truth, even if it's against yourself.
Absolutely. 100%. Thank you so much for listening, you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, guys, take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.